The twin suns of Kepros 4 beat down mercilessly on the crimson dunes, casting long shadows across the wasteland. In the distance, the jagged peaks of the scorched range shimmered like broken glass against the violet sky. Nothing moved in this desolate expanse, nothing except a single, battered cargo hauler kicking up plumes of rust-colored sand as it traversed the ancient trade route. Eli gripped the steering controls loosely, his weathered hands moving with practiced ease. 3 years he'd been running supplies between the mining colonies and the Karlith settlements, and in that time, he'd learned to expect the unexpected. But nothing had prepared him for what he saw when he crested the next dune. A small shape lay crumpled in the sand ahead, pale as bone against the red earth. Eli brought the hauler to a halt, the engines whining down to silence. For a moment he simply stared through the reinforced viewport, squinting against the glare. Then he grabbed his breather mask and climbed down from the cab. The heat hit him like a physical blow, but Eli was used to it. He approached the shape cautiously, hand instinctively moving to the plasma cutter at his belt. Out here you never knew what might be playing dead, but as he drew closer, Eli's breath caught in his throat. It was a hatchling, a Karlith by the looks of it, though unlike any he'd ever seen. Where the Karlith were normally covered in brilliant scales of emerald and sapphire, this creature was completely white, its scales translucent and delicate as paper. Its eyes barely open were a startling pink, and its small body trembled with each labored breath. An albino. Eli had heard rumors of such births among the Karlith, whispered stories told in the colony bars. Bad omens, they called them. Cursed. The Karlith were a proud species, warriors who valued strength and perfection above all else. A hatchling like this. Eli knelt in the sand beside the tiny creature, his shadow falling across its pale form. The hatchling's eyes flickered open, and for a moment their gazes met. Eli saw no aggression there, no fight, only exhaustion and a bone-deep resignation that no infant should ever possess. Left you out here to die, didn't they? Eli murmured, more to himself than to the creature. His jaw tightened. The hatchling, Sivra, as Eli would later learn was marked on the small identification band around its foreleg, made a weak, chittering sound. It was trying to crawl, Eli realized, dragging itself forward with movements that spoke of days without food or water. Crawling toward what? There was nothing out here but death. Eli had seen a lot of cruelty in his years traveling the outer colonies. He'd witnessed wars, betrayals, and the casual violence that came with frontier life. But there was something about this, the deliberate abandonment of a helpless infant, that ignited a cold fury in his chest. Not today, he said firmly. He scooped Sivra up as gently as he could, cradling the hatchling against his chest. The creature was impossibly light, its body radiating a feverish heat even through Eli's gloves. Sivra made no protest, simply curling into the relative coolness of Eli's shadow with something that might have been relief. Back in the hauler's cab, Eli laid Sivra on the passenger seat and rummaged through his emergency supplies. Water first, carefully administered from an eyedropper, just a few drops at a time. The hatchling's pink tongue flickered out weakly, accepting the precious liquid. Eli fired up the comm system as the hauler's engines roared back to life. This is transport vessel Delta 79er calling New Kepros Medical. I'm inbound with a critical patient. Karlith hatchling, severe dehydration and exposure. 8 to 40 minutes, the response was immediate. Delta 79er, be advised that Karlith hatchlings with irregularities are not typically— I don't care what's typical, Eli cut in, his voice hard as titanium. You prep a med bay or I'll drive this hauler straight through your front entrance. Your choice. There was a pause. Med bay 4 will be ready, Delta 79er. The journey back seemed to take an eternity. Eli kept glancing at Sivra, monitoring each shallow breath, adjusting the climate controls to keep the temperature stable. He'd wrapped the hatchling in his own jacket, the rough fabric dwarfing the small body. Halfway back, Sivra's eyes opened again. This time there was something different in that pink gaze, a spark of curiosity, perhaps even hope. The hatchling made a soft, trilling sound, and one tiny claw reached out to grasp Eli's thumb. You're going to be okay, Eli promised, feeling the surprising strength in that small grip. I don't know what your people think, but where I come from, we don't give up on anyone. Especially not kids. By the time they reached New Kepros, Sivra was more alert, responding to Eli's voice and even attempting to drink more water. The medical team rushed out to meet them, and Eli watched as they whisked the hatchling away, shouting medical jargon he didn't fully understand. Dr. Thessa, the colony's chief physician, a stern Charleth with scales like polished jade, approached Eli in the waiting area hours later. Her expression was unreadable. "The hatchling will survive," she said simply. "Thanks to you." Eli nodded, relief flooding through him. "What happens now?" Dr. Thessa's tail twitched, a gesture of discomfort. "That is complicated. Sivra's clan will not take her back. Albino hatchlings are considered cursed." "Yeah, I heard." Eli stood, meeting the doctor's eyes levelly. "Then I'll take her." "You?" Dr. Thessa's scales rippled with surprise. "Human, you cannot possibly understand what you're—" "I understand plenty," Eli interrupted. "I understand that Kid deserves a chance at life, same as anyone else. If her own people are too superstitious to see that, then they don't deserve her anyway." For a long moment, Dr. Thessa simply stared at him. Then slowly, her head dipped in what might have been respect. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "there is more to humans than we have given them credit for." 3 months later, Sivra rode in the co-pilot seat of the cargo hauler, her scales gleaming white in the sun as she chattered excitedly about the stars visible through the viewport. She was thriving, growing stronger every day, her pink eyes bright with intelligence and mischief. Eli smiled as he guided the hauler across the dunes, the small hatchling's laughter filling the cab. Sometimes, he thought, humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their technology. It was in their stubborn, foolish refusal to leave anyone behind.